Hey folks, here with Jake Harshman, Mid-Atlantic Kayak Bass Fisherman Angler of the Year, man. Yeah, congrats on that.
Appreciate it.
He's had a good season.
I did.
So we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Okay.
We're actually going to rig up the Torqeedo Ultralight 1103 3 horsepower motor on your Old Town Predator. And we're gonna get some test numbers. It's not the greatest day for testing. We do have a good bit of wind, but we've come up here in the mountains on we're up here in the mountains. I'm hoping that we get away from some of the wind. We can find a bank over there that's not as affected, but today's the day we got to do it. So yeah, we're gonna rig it up and see how fast the Predator is gonna go. You still have your 403 bracket on here. We're going to use all your steering and everything else. We got the Innovative Sportsman Predator bracket on there. We're going to take this off and put the 1103 bracket on there and see what she does. Any guesses on how fast? You've been watching some of the other speeds.
If I had to guess, I would say it's probably going to be somewhere around 6.5.
Yeah. That's a pretty
I'm thinking
safe,
6.5.
Safe guess.
I'm averaging right now with the regular motor 5.6 at full speed.
Okay.
So
you might get up over 6.5. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go ahead and rig it up and give it a spin, and then we're gonna hit the river. We're gonna get up on the Susquehanna. Are you smiling already?
Oh, I'm already smiling. Yeah. It's a little bit chilly, but anytime you mention the river, it makes me smile.
It's a special place for sure. So let's get this testing done, and then we'll go catch some smallmouth.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right.
So if you've watched any of my other speed and range videos, you know that I'm kind of a stickler for getting out on the right days, and today's not the right day. I mean, we do have wind. I'm trying to tuck into a spot where I'm not affected by the wind, and I'm just not finding it yet. I'm gonna keep cruising around until I have a high bank like this. I'm gonna try the upper end of the lake, see what it looks like. But I may have to retest this another day to get real good solid numbers, but I want to get a rough idea anyways. We got a little bit of had a snow squall here a minute ago, and the wind is certainly picking up, so let's see if I can find a good area. But I would say going into the wind right off the bat, bow's popping up. We're up over 6.3, 6.4, 6.4 into the wind. Right there. So we'll see what that does without wind. I just can't get out of it today. That right up there, I'll zoom in on it, but there's a little patch of water that's just doesn't have as much wind on it. I think that's where I can get my top end speed. 3, 2, 1, zoom. Yeah, it's hitting 6.5 consistently. 6.4. Come on, jump back up. I still got a little wind on me. I'm calling that 6.5 at 11:02. Jake was right. All right, let me get the rest of the range numbers. Speed and range. We'll do 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we'll map out all those ranges, those corresponding ranges. Here's what you need to know about range with the 1103 compared to the 403. it is an 1100 watt motor compared to a 400 watt motor. What that means in terms of your range is that it's using almost 3 times the power. It's gobbling up 3 times the battery fuel, if you will, at full speed. But when you get to the same speeds that the 403 gets, say a boat gets 5.5, instead of using 400 or 420 watts, it's going to be using 380. So it's a more efficient propeller, which actually makes the 915 watt hour battery that it comes with last longer than, say, a 403 AC at those same speeds. So it's a matter of budgeting your power and making sure that, you know, you pay attention to this number right here. That is your remaining range at current throttle setting. Right now I'm going 3.2 miles per hour, and I have over 45 miles of range at 3.2 miles per hour. All right, I got all the numbers that I needed. I'm gonna zoom back down to the lower end of the lake where Jake's waiting. He's gonna take this for a spin and just kind of get his first impression on what 6.5 mile an hour feels like in his Old Town Predator 13.
Well, Jeff, what was the top speed?
6.5. You guessed correctly.
That's pretty good, yeah.
So, and I looked at the Facebook post, and it's all over the place, all around 6.5, but no one's agreeing with you.
Someone said something like 8 miles an hour.
We've had some boats at 6.8.
Yeah.
And,
no, they said 8 miles an hour.
Oh, 8?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're not doing 8 with the 3 horsepower, but yeah, I want you to give it a go.
Okay.
You know, zip around and feel what that is, and then we're gonna pack it up and you know, go down to the river and go catch some smallmouth.
Really good idea.
All right.
All right.
What do you think?
That takes off.
Yeah. What do you think, man?
It just goes. It like you hit it and it just goes. It's pretty awesome.
So yeah, the throttle response being immediate is different than what you're used to in the 403. The amount of power.
Yeah, and I noticed like even like when I got fully full mashing it forward, literally, I mean, I came up. You know,
Yeah.
I felt like I was in a bass boat there.
Yeah, the bow pops up.
Yeah.
The other thing, and I don't know whether you think it'll matter or not, but it's the motor, especially at those lower speeds, it makes no noise.
No noise. Like even there's not even like cavitation noise.
Right.
It's I mean it's really quiet. It's gonna be awesome.
Nice. Well, let's go get it on the river.
Sounds good.
And we'll test out that rock guard and let you smack it into some rocks, and we'll give some feedback to Trey on how that turned out.
Sounds
I
great.
think it's a pretty tough looking rock guard.
Yeah, it's beefy. And it has to be because that motor's beefy. So, but yeah, it's. I think it's gonna be awesome.
All right, let's go fish.
Sounds good.
So we're checking the wind forecast. I just typed in the search wind forecast Duncan in Pennsylvania, which is a town close to where we're at, and Willy weather popped up. I will use Windfinder the other day with Gary Ward up on the New Jersey shore. We looked at a couple different ones to see what our wind would be, but we're sustained right now over we're right around 12 midday, 12.8. It's pretty much what we're going to have all day. Northwest wind. So we look at that direction from the northwest wind, and then we go into Google Maps, and I just know some of the places on the river. We make sure that we orient this north so we don't lose. So we're looking anywhere where you have a steeper bank which this is down in a valley. Well, let's not do the Juniata. The Juniata is right there, but you know, if you look at, say, this shoreline here, you have a mountain here, and the northwest wind comes in, and that mountain pushes the wind up and over, and anywhere on this shoreline would be, you know, wind protected. So we're going to zoom around and look around. I think if we went to the confluence, it would be slamming right across that bridge and pushing us into that. But if we look, we're going to just keep looking down and see if we can find places. Certainly that corner up near Marysville, that would be wind protected. But yeah, that's what you do. You zoom around and find, you know, where you know there's good fishing and the northwest wind, and you have a mountain that protects you from that as much as possible. So we're going to go find that and go catch some smallmouth. All right, so we made it to the river, and as you can tell, we're not really blocked from the wind all that much. I don't think there was any escaping it, but we're going to do our best. Things you do to deal with the wind, obviously, you're using the anchor, you're using the motor to hold in position. I'm going to be using, I think I rigged up a bunch of jigs and Z-Man Elastec soft plastics and, you know, stuff with 1/8 to 3/16 ounce. I think I'm going to jump up to 1/4 ounce or something heavier just so I can feel that bite. The wind absolutely puts a bow on your line, and it is a detriment to your feeling the bite. So, all right, got the first one of the day up in the ledges. It was not easy. We'll go ahead and get this guy back in there. See you, guy. It was not easy holding in position. I tried anchoring, but even with the anchor, I was being blown back. I tried letting out more line with the anchor, and that kind of worked, but I felt like every time I dropped the anchor, I was spooking fish, and I needed to fish close to me. I'm looking for these foam trails, which is hard to sort of identify with the wind, but when it lays down even just a little bit, you can see areas where these little foam bubbles are collecting, these lanes of foam trails. And I was casting this up in the up at the top and just kind of letting it tumble down, and wherever it came to rest, I would really just leave it there. This is the Z-Man TRD Ticklers. That's Drew's craw, and yeah, it's a good color. Rigging them on the Ned locks. It's a 1/6 ounce. Holds on to the bait very nicely, and then of course I always have a little bit of scent on there, the Liquid Mayhem. Kind of squish that around the head and just kind of get it up in the knot, any of these little crevices, put it in the little tails at the end. Kind of looks like Sideshow Bob there. All right, and then drop them in the foam trails. So let's see if we can get a few more. All right, we're taking a break from being beat up by the wind out in the middle of the river. We're actually tucked in behind a nice ledge rock here. Hopefully we'll catch a couple fish out of this eddy before we leave it. But I wanted to take a few minutes and talk to Jake about his season and his achieving Mid-Atlantic Kayak Bass Fishing Angler of the Year title. And I think what we'll do is we'll just go through each of the tournament, you know, each of the tournaments in the season, you know, where it was, maybe give us what your placing was, maybe what your biggest fish was, and then pattern information on each of those fisheries. Does that make sense?
Sounds good.
Okay.
We started out, first tournament of the year was in April down in Pohick Bay, Virginia. Tidal Potomac water. We got down there. It was pretty windy that day. Started out rather calm, but I got some small fish, got my limit off of riprap, and I didn't actually start getting into some better fish until I got in some lily pads as the tide started coming in. I was ripping a chatterbait through some lily pads, and I picked up a couple more kicker fish really that put me in second place. I thought I had second place, but then unfortunately the person who was in the lead incurred a few penalties and it vaulted me into first place. So got lucky there. Second tournament of the year, I believe we went to Mattawoman Creek. I did not do well there. I could not find a good pattern there. Couldn't find fish early. I think I ended up placing like 44th in that tournament. Made up for it at the Upper Bay in the Upper Chesapeake, which was a KBF trail as well as an MAKBF tournament. I think in the MAKBF standings for the three fish, I came in 11th, and I came in 10th in the KBF. I had a limit really early. That was a fun day of fishing. That was, I literally lines in with 6 a.m. I had a limit by 6:30. Thought everything was going great, but I couldn't find any bigger fish to move me up. But finished 10th overall out of 90 some folks in that KBF tournament, and 11th out of I think 30 or 40 in the MAKBF. We went to right here on the Susquehanna River for the next tournament, and I came in third place behind Jedediah Plunkard, who took first, and there was another gentleman who took second. I forget the individual's name. That was probably the most fun tournament I had because the majority of those fish came on top water.
And it's your home water.
And it's, well, yeah, I didn't have to sleep in a car or find a hotel or anything like that. So that was a lot of fun fishing my home water. And Jed, I don't care any body of water. Jed's hard to beat, but he's especially hard to beat on this river. So from there we had Rocky Gorge, and that was fun in August. A lot of fish, and just didn't have a lot of giants, but I had some good fish. I came in a fifth place finish there, and followed that up with what was probably, I consider, one of my greatest achievements this season. We fished the Savage River Reservoir out in western Maryland. Really deep, really clear water. Not in my wheelhouse. I am not a good deep water fisherman. I'm very impatient.
So you had to have learned a pretty good pattern for it in pre-fishing.
Yeah, I went out pre-fishing with a buddy of mine, and I found a large tree in about 30 feet of water, and I drop shotted it. And I drop shotted it basically all day long, and I caught a lot of fish off of it. Most of those fish were in the 14 to 15 inch range, but I had no idea where I was sitting for that tournament because we didn't have any service there. So later in the day, I said I figured I needed to get some sort of kicker. So I went up into where a mountain feeder creek came in, and I just threw a rainbow trout colored whopper plopper up into the creek. And as I was pulling it down, a nice 18 and a half inch largemouth just absolutely destroyed it. And that was the fish. I think I won that tournament by a quarter inch. That fish really set me up above. But I was proud of that tournament because it was something that I wasn't good at, and I forced myself to do it, and it worked. So I was pretty proud of that. And the last tournament of the year was in Delaware. It was hosted by Delaware Paddle Sports. It was also MAKBF season finale, and you could pick any freshwater body of water in Delaware. The pond that I chose, I did some research on it, and I was looking at citation fish catch reportings from that pond and other ponds. This one had the highest number of citation fish catch reported, and it was decent enough in size that I figured if there was other anglers there that we could still manage, because most of the Delaware ponds are pretty small. Got there in the morning, and it was just me and the guy that I went down with. So I was like, wow, this is going to be good. I ended up catching 2 19-inch fish there and 1 20 3/4 that was, if I had to guess, probably somewhere around 6.5 pounds. That was a really awesome situation because
What was your total?
I think it was 58 3/4.
Okay, so it's a three-fish
Three-fish
total.
tournament, yeah.
Yep.
Going into that tournament, I kind of had a notion that if I just placed in the top 10, that I would have a legitimate chance at winning Angler of the Year just based on the way the points were looking. But after I caught that 20 3/4 inch fish, and I
blew it out of the water.
I saw my total, and I kind of sat there in awe for a second. I texted my buddy Russell, and you know, Russell Johnson, if any of the viewers know him, we conversated for a second, and he's like, just keep fishing, get another kicker, and he's like, then get off the water, make sure you get to check-in. And I'm like, all right. So I basically fished for like 5 more minutes, and I left and went to check-in because I didn't think I could improve on 2 19s and a 20 3/4. That's going to be really hard to do.
Right.
The worst thing I could have done was been late or not been able to figure out where I was going or have traffic issues or so. Got off the water and went there, and you know, it was just to get that title meant a lot, considering the previous owners of that title and considering the competition in that trail. I think that trail is probably one of the most competitive trails on the East Coast, with the number of guys that are just really, really good fishermen in that trail. So it was a fun year,
Nice.
especially considering last year was my first year ever kayak fishing,
Right.
and I had some adversity last year. I went through some growing pains, but I was proud of the way I came out on top this year. It was a good feeling. Fishing this year was, you know, it was a lot of fun. I did a mixture of you know, tidal water, moving water, things like that. I will say, you know, using the motor on the tidal water and the moving water was incredibly helpful.
Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
It's quite an accomplishment. Let's accomplish catching a few more fish.
Yeah, let's accomplish not getting hypothermia. What did you talk me into today, Jeff?
Yeah, well, this is par for the course for me in November.
Yeah.
Just ask Amanda, Russell, and Jody. We were here a year ago, actually, testing the early prototype of that thing right there. That 1103. We actually had just up from here at the confluence, and you know, we got good feedback, and that's led to you know, to the improvements we have in the, you know, the motor lift and just the durability overall. A lot of different upgrades that you know, that prototype testing, which you're actually using the prototype, you know, one of the prototypes now. That's how we refine it and make sure that by the time it comes to you know, to fruition, it's a good motor for folks.
I will say that the instant, as soon as you hit that throttle, you're moving. It's an adjustment, but it's awesome. I've tested out the rock guard today so far too.
So
Coming up over the last couple ledges down there,
you whack some stuff.
I smacked the ledge, and I felt the motor come up and everything, but I didn't even look back. I mean,
Nice.
I don't have to. Trey's stuff it's solid.
It's
So
tough.
yeah.
Cool. All right, we're running back upstream. We're actually gonna pack up and hit a different spot. Get out of this wind. Try a different spot. Hopefully we don't get blown around as much. So I'm going at my full speed, and here he goes with the 1103 full speed. It's nice. It gets you upstream a little quicker. And I'm riding in his wake. What you got there, man?
Little smallmouth.
Yeah, he is so little. Where'd you get him on, man?
On a boot tail swim bait.
All right.
I just cast it up against the rock wall over there. I figured with the sun shining on it, it'd be retaining some heat. And he's biting my thumb right now.
Is he?
Yeah. So threw it up against the rock wall there.
Show me the bait.
Just basically a little bass tail boot tail swim bait.
Yeah.
So I work part-time at Bass Pro, so I get a discount on Bass Pro stuff. So
Cool.
stuff that I go through a lot of.
Yeah.
And I mean, these things are pretty. They're pretty everywhere. Every one of them across the board does the same thing. So.
Right.
But yeah, that's what he hit it right at the boat too. Like he
Followed
was.
it and jammed it.
He was basically underneath the boat, and he was jumping on this side of the kayak as I had the rod out on this side. So it's
Nice.
kind of interesting how that was happening. I'm like, do I net him over? But I'm gonna measure him up because fishing in the Northeast Veterans Day Challenge right now.
Cool.
So I'm gonna measure him up and put him back in the water.
So did he get 17 and a quarter?
17 and a quarter, yeah.
Nice. Let's go ahead and get her back in. All right, we've had a fun day catching these angry little brown monsters. What do you think, man? What do you think of the motor?
I love the motor.
Yeah?
It's powerful. Yeah, it's surprisingly powerful.
So we got up to what, 6.5 mile per hour?
On flat water today, yeah.
Yep. And how did you like it on the river? What?
Well,
I mean, we went down a good ways, and
Yeah.
and when we were coming back up,
I mean, I was going up through.
I was getting it, but you were
paddling.
getting
You were paddling,
yeah.
and I was going without paddling about 4.5 miles upriver, 4.5 miles an hour upriver.
Yeah.
Which
With it was a 3 mile an hour drift.
Yeah, and I wasn't. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't even really on the motor the entire time. Like,
Right.
there was a couple times when we got into the rifts that I really hit it, but I was going about 75%.
Yeah. What's your battery percentage?
58.
Nice.
So we've
All
been
right.
fishing all day.
Well, hey man, congrats on
Thank
the MAKBF Angler of the Year,
Thank you.
and enjoyed being on the water with you today, bud.
Me too. It was a good time.
Let's
It's
see
always
you
a good time. You would
tear out of here.
take off?
Yeah, one more time, real powerful.